Namaste everyone. Our topic for today is discovering unity behind multiplicity. It is in a way, and since we are at the end of this year, we can take it in the spirit of aspiring for that oneness which all of us have deep within us, but at the same time, for striving for that oneness, we respect the multiplicity which we hold within ourselves and also around us. So it is in that spirit that we will make our exploration. And specifically when we talk about giving a sense of discovery, it in itself means a sense of process that unfolds. So whenever we hear the word discovery, what comes to us is a sense of adventure, that what lies. Like when I'm taking a path, where will it lead me? And inner journey in that sense is that sense of adventure. That we have a deep sense that yes, there's something beyond what I can see, what my senses, my limited understanding can perceive. But I can't really pinpoint and get my hands into, yes, this is it. But it's a continuous sense of something larger, something wider, something deeper, which all of us hold as a quest, and in our own methods, in our own ways, whatever we understand, whatever we get our hands to, we proceed on the path. And in that path, as we move forward, we realize that what is the main aspect, or what is that thing which we have, which we can use as a tool to make this discovery or to begin this adventure, that is our own self. That is the instrument which we are, and the environment, the situation in which this instrument is placed. So the first and the fundamental aspect is, can I acknowledge the multiplicity that is given to me to make that discovery towards the oneness? Because the immediate tendency of human nature is, if I want something, I want to immediately start ideating about it, make it the absolute, and reject what I already have. I lose the faculty of understanding that what I have can also be used. So the newness or the path to newness is, in a way, how do I transform the old? And in that transformation of old, a part of old can be discarded, a part of old can be used in the new light, but the main idea is that what is that thing which is required to be done? And in that process, can I acknowledge the multiplicity? Any change begins with acknowledging the present. It's only when I acknowledge what I have, what is my situation, what is my circumstances, what are the people around me, what is the nature of who I am, or what is the understanding of who I am. It's not that we all know who we are, but at least we have a sense of perception, a sense of identity, an idea, a story we carry. That yes, this is who I am, and this story is predominantly dominated by my exchange with the world. So there are multiple identities that we carry, the roles, the relationships, the environment we interact with, and that multiplicity in the world is a window for expression. So it is like, if we really see that we always go within and we have that sense of oneness, that yes, there is the divine, but why do we need the multiplicity? So if we say that, okay, why was the creation created? So we always have that answer, yes, the divine had so much to offer, and that is why this creation came into existence. So what is the fundamental idea behind it? That we can enjoy the multiplicity, we can enjoy the various expressions. So if example, it looks like that yes, you are one individual sitting here, but there are so many roles which you play in your life. And in those roles, you have certain experiences, and all the experiences feed into each other. So you also carry a sense of oneness, that this is who you are, and that oneness is expressed in the multiple roles you play. Some roles you like, some roles you don't like, some things you do out of compulsion, you think that this is required, sometimes you express in certain roles that give you joy. So there are variety of movements, there are variety of experiences which the world provides you. So though you have that sense of oneness that yes, there is who I am in my essence, the faint sense or the faint idea who I am, but that faint idea gets more and more concrete when you start expressing it. So if you are expressing or living in life in ignorance, that ignorance takes you away from the experience of who you are. But if you're using your surroundings, you're using the multiple opportunities given to you in a more conscious manner, that strengthens your sense of self. So both ways, multiplicity is a necessity for you to give you a window, to give you a framework, to get more and more closer to the sense which you are carrying within, and to bring that sense out. That how can I bring that more and more in my own living? Because when we also speak about the sense of acknowledging who I am, or acknowledging the responsibilities, acknowledging the roles, but we also have that sense of, say, being carried. So the purpose of so much expression in the world is to give us a very concrete experience. But where does the error lies? That the multiplicity, the variety in the world becomes our identity. And if the multiplicity becomes our identity, we start having that sense of fear of losing it. That if I am choosing one role, I might lose the other role. If I am choosing one responsibility, I may not be able to fulfill other responsibility. Or very simple terms, if I'm going to meet somebody, I may not meet the other person. So there's always a sense of lack that develops, because what we are taking as an error is that the expression or the space which is given to us for expression, we are taking it as the absolute. So it's I'm either here or there. But when we develop that understanding that what is on the outside is a framework, it is what is inside which we are expressing. So the container, so there is multiplicity in the container. The roles, the relationships, the responsibilities, the situation, the environment are those containers. But what is being poured is the sense of self which I hold within. And when I pour it in the container, of course that sense of self also imbibes certain qualities of the container, which makes it more presentable. So if I say, for example, if the food is the same, but if I'm giving it to a child, I may make it more palatable. I may make it a way that the child can take it. But if I'm giving the same food to an adult, I may present it differently. Or say, example, if I'm eating on my own, I might just eat, say, mix it and eat it. But if I've called guest at my home, I might serve it well in a way that the food is the same. So the sense of oneness which I hold within is that same absolute sense which develops with time. But the joy I get is in expression, that what are the multiple ways I can express it. And it's only in that expression that I realize the joy of creation. That yes, this is just one thing. So for example, if I'm an artist, I know that, okay, I can say draw well, or I can sing well. But there are so many situations, so many audience I can cater to. So it's not that I have an art of, say, singing, but the joy of singing and reaching to multiple people at multiple places. So it's the possibilities of multiple expression which gives us a lot of joy. But if we identify with them too much, then that is where the fear comes in, that is where the sense of losing comes in, that is where a lot of questioning comes in. So essentially, if you're looking at, especially from the lens of, say, spirituality, now we know that we have so many, even within spirituality, we have so many ideas, we have so many thought processes. But essentially, what does it boil down to? That spirituality is an attitude. It's like the how of whatever you are doing. So how are you approaching? and the action is of your choice. So everything in the world which is given is more of action. So for example, we often confuse spirituality and religion. Now religion is an action. It is telling you what to do, not to do. Say it's your different options. For example, say science. Now science, being a scientist is an action. Or say being an artist is an action. Or simply just being a homemaker is an action. You are creating things. And that creation inherently holds multiplicity, because to bring things together, to create things, you need multiple ingredients. But what kind of attitude you are using to approach those ingredients determine the composition. So in that sense, spirituality becomes the base, the attitude with which you are approaching whatever. So for example, say in this ashram. So say all the inmates are given different departments, and inherently they carry the attitude of service and an attitude of offering, say, to the mother. So somebody who's, say, like speaking here is using a sense of experience, a sense of knowledge with an attitude and expressing, see, in language. Now somebody, say, who's working in the kitchen. So they are using that attitude of spirit of offering to the mother, but the action is to cook food, to serve food. And similarly in different departments. So it's not that the moment somebody on the outside thinks of ashram, they're like, oh, everybody is just sitting here. Yes, everybody is sitting here. They can come here, meditate, but then they also feel hungry. So they have to also have a dining hall to eat. They also need certain things for, say, their laundry to be done. They can't just sit in meditation because they also have to wear clothes. They want to make sure that, especially in winters, their room is comfortable. So they also need people to clean. So you cannot have oneness in that sense of, we always confuse that, okay, there's just one thing. We are required to focus on the divine. So we only have to think about that. Yes, we have to do it. But given the opportunity, given the circumstances, how am I applying it? And because human beings have a very limited understanding of action, they have a very limited understanding of experience, and especially where we stand today, we give so much of importance to knowledge, we give so much importance to mind, that it's only when I understand it intellectually is that my sadhana is true. It's only when I can understand, say, especially in integral yoga, we speak a lot about that how Sri Aurobindo's writings are very difficult, we can't understand it. It's a common discussion across. Because we only feel that it's somebody who can interpret through the mind is somebody who needs to be looked upon. So if somebody is talking about the yoga, talking about the philosophy, then you are inherently like, oh, this person knows more. But if somebody who's silently, say, working behind the scenes, who's making, say, who prepared the meditation hall so that we all could sit here and talk, that was as important as this conversation. But we don't know who that person is. That person will not come and say when this video will come up. Or the name on the board that, okay, this person is speaking in the satsang or this person is singing in the satsang. Nobody talks about the preparation. And that is the misunderstanding which we also have in our own path. That as human beings, we often miss to acknowledge the preparation on the path. That what are the things which we need so that our path towards that sense of oneness, the path towards the divine is prepared. So we are always like, okay, now I have received that idea. There's a sense of opening within me. Now that sense of restlessness comes in. What do I do? What do I do? How can I make it right? How can I make it right? So we are not able to respect our journey, respect the preparation, because we are too eager to make that shift. But to make that shift, we have to understand that if I have to go from point A to point B, in my head I can go just like once. But to actually take my physical towards that, I have to make a journey. And in that journey, I will discover what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what can help me go from A to B, what is hindering my way, can I clean that? So that is why yoga is always a progressive unfolding. And in that progressive unfolding, if I am doing it with an attitude of joy, and how will that attitude of joy comes in? When there is a certain acceptance of self. That if I see something in my personality that I don't like, can I acknowledge it? Can I accept it? If I see a strength, instead of identifying with that strength, oh, I have this, can I see, okay, how can I offer that strength to build on my weakness? To not, like, in our even slightest idea, tilt towards our strength and ignore our weakness. But when we are discussing our path, we focus on our weakness. So are we taking a cover behind our weakness to justify that, oh, I'm not able to do what I want to do? Or I'm taking cover in my strength when I really want to assert that, no, I'm on my path. So that is where, say, sincerity comes in. So even when we we often talk about that qualities which Mother has given to us, that these are the qualities, these are the attributes which we want to work on the path. But then we also have to realize that every quality in that sense holds the potential of all other qualities. So if I am really, really sincere, then something in me will also open and receive. So if I'm sincerely appearing and really working on the path, perseverance will naturally come to me because I will feel that support. I'll also have that sense of courage to, yes, I can walk the path. And especially in one of the conversations, Mother has said, no, the three important aspects, that faith, courage, and patience. And if you really see it, like when I was reading that faith, courage, and patience is what you really need for your will to get strengthened. Because even in this small booklet, the Mother, Sri Aurobindo writes, no, that what comes in the way of grace coming to us is the falsity of the will. It's our own limitation that comes in our way. So grace is available to all of us. It's also available to people who are not sitting in the meditation hall. It's not that it's only for people who are actively pursuing the path. It's for everybody. But the question comes in how receptive we are. So it comes to the idea or the experience of receptivity. Now receptivity in that sense, how can it happen? Like if I want to receive somebody in my house, what do I have to do? The basic thing, okay, I want to invite them. That, okay, please visit me. So-and-so date, so-and-so time or whatever. So first I have to give that invitation. In our own yogic journey, how does that invitation looks like? As our aspiration to want the divine, to be one with the divine. Inviting the divine to, okay, work for me, work with me, work through me. So having that aspiration, sending the invitation. And the divine is always waiting for an invitation. He's literally sitting on the side, anyway working. But if we invite, the joy of inviting will also move something in us. So then I invite. But then it's like, if I invite them, then I also have to remember to open the door. It's not that the visitor comes to my house, I invite, but my doors are closed. Then is ringing the bell, it's like, I'm not opening, I'm busy in my own life. Then what's the point? And in my head, I'm giving that idea, no, I invited. So yes, I have that aspiration. But how actively am I working on my aspiration? How connected I am to my aspiration? Or it is just a mental aspiration to make sure that, yes, I have invited, I have done my job, now you come. But am I making the conditions for that to happen? And preparing that condition is what my yoga is, what my journey is. So can I open that door? Can I receive? And if I have to open the door, so it doesn't also stop like that, okay, I've opened the door. But when the guest will come, I also have to make place for the guest to sit. So I also have to clean my nature. I have to, at least if I don't clean the entire house, at least I can clean that one room where I want the guest to sit. So I start with whatever part of my personality I am aware with. So if I am more of receiving mode, then I start cleaning my instrument. That, okay, this is a place, so if I'm too occupied with the thoughts of different relations in my life or different situations in my life, or I'm too occupied with work stress, then I'm not able to receive that divinity. So can I pause and create that space and become more and more open? And also, again here, one of the errors which we can often commit, and knowingly, unknowingly we also do, we also confuse the purpose with the process. Now the purpose is oneness with the divine. And that purpose can be fulfilled by the process of cleaning, the process of purification. So the purpose was that the guest should come and interact. And for that interaction to happen in the best interest possible, I have to clean the house. But sometimes we get so invested in cleaning the house becomes our identity that we forget that why were we doing it. So constant remembrance in the process of purification is equally important. Because then there can be a possibility of error of, say, what in that sense is my favorite word, spiritual ego. That, oh, I'm working on myself, I'm cleaning so much, I'm so observant, that why is this happening, what is it happening? But we forget that why are we doing it? Because we're not doing it for our own self, we are doing it in the spirit of offering. So that, like how we say that if we want the living presence, we need to keep the temple clean. So I'm cleaning the temple, yes, but why? For the living presence to come in. So to remember at every step the ultimate goal, that is the oneness. And discovery of that oneness has to go through these paths. So in that sense, that when I'm having that sense of purification, that is where the actual discovery begins. So if I'm cleaning my house, I realize, oh, for a long time this thing was kept here, I didn't notice because I was not using it. Now can I use it? Do I want to use it? Do I want to discard it? Or do I give some mental justifications that maybe sometimes later it can come to use, so I should keep it? So even the same thing, if I get to unfold a sense of personality or certain attributes in my own self, how do I deal with it? So if I catch myself being insincere, do I justify that insincerity or do I offer it? So at every step, so when we say that knowledge and will go together, so if I know something, how do I use that knowledge depends upon how will is strengthened in me. So then what am I doing to strengthen my will? So this combination of knowledge and will, what does it address in me? And in that sense of purification, in that sense of addressing, I discover the multiple aspects of my personality. And then of those multiple personality attributes, I see that can they come together so that they can offer to that one purpose I have, which is oneness with the divine. So what does that mean? That in that process of purification, which is for the intention of receptivity, can there be a conscious collaboration of all the parts of my being, all the things which I have discovered? So something which is hindering my progress, something which is facilitating my progress, to be able to see all of them in the same light because they are all part of my process. And not taking side of one over the other, because taking side is a sense of division which comes from identity. That I like this, I don't like this. But towards the path of oneness, what we have to do? Overcome the preference. And how can we overcome the preference? Like I'll go back to the same thing which I spoke about, faith, courage, and patience. And if you look at faith, courage, and patience, you can also see it like a thread when Sri Aurobindo speaks about the 4 aids in synthesis of yoga. He speaks about that, yes, you need Shastra, you need scriptures, but the most powerful scripture which lies within us, that is the unfolding which is required. So for faith to manifest, for us to experience the faith, we need to get in touch with the inner Veda. We need to have that sense, like the combination of, say, a sense of a living guru or just finding an inner guru, whatever works for us. So a sense of connection with the masters, a sense of connection with the scriptures. So I have a faith, I reach the scriptures reinforce my faith. So then I develop a very active, a very dynamic relationship with the element that yes, there is something deeper, and that gives me courage to pursue further, to purify further, to seek further, to strengthen my aspiration. And all of these things can happen only if I have a working relationship with time, that is patience. So even these 4 aids give into a sense of a framework to us that how to proceed on the path. So even when the multiple aspects of my being when they're really, really striving towards that sense of oneness, what are the tools required? So if I have to make that journey, I have to have a sense of preparation. And in that sense of preparation, it doesn't mean that, say, if I'm from Delhi going to, say, Bombay, doesn't mean that I will forget Delhi. I will see that in Delhi, what are the situations which can help me? Say, what is the way I have to decide? What is the mode of transport? What do I have to carry? Okay, if there's a luggage limitation, what do I have to let go? What do I have to carry? So the same thing. So if, say, from where I'm going is what I know of me, which is my personality. Where do I want to go? Where I want to become a better person. But in that process of moving from what I know to what I want to become, I will carry certain things and leave certain things. So I'm doing all this preparation, so I'm transforming the lower part of me in the light of the higher. So what is required, I have an idea. What I have is an experience, how do I bridge it? So the bridging of idea and experience is the bridging of, say, the knowledge practice gap. So how am I really doing it? By understanding more and more, what do I really have right now? So all of us, like when we talk about, say, multiplicity and unity, so all of us in that sense, say, have a child in us. So when I started off saying that it is an adventure, so children like adventure. So how do I walk on that path of adventure? But all of us also have an old person since the beginning who likes comfort, who doesn't want to move. So there's always a fight between, oh, I want to go on this adventure, oh, where am I? It's fine. So I might just go on an adventure in my head, so that can satisfy my own experiences, or I can actually physically go on an adventure. So what am I choosing? Am I choosing the adventure which is like really the quality of the inner being? So if we really want to tune in into the quality of the sense of self which we carry, it is that sense of that spirit of adventure, the spirit of exploring, trying out new things. And even the same, if captured by the outside, the surface nature, it can turn into immediate satisfaction, pleasure, impulsive behavior, all of those things. So that just becomes a opposite of that. So this intent is the same, the spirit is the same, but the action gets distorted because we have a imperfect nature. We are working towards perfection. So how do we really shift our lens and find our own balance, that can I nurture more and more the spirit of exploration in me, but at the same time, I'm not depriving the one who needs comfort. So I'm also addressing the comfort, I'm also feeding the adventure spirit in me. And that can happen when I really imbibe that nature, imbibe that quality of understanding what does collaboration means, what does synthesis mean. So I'm not focusing so much on, oh, everything should be same. I'm saying that everything can be approached with the same attitude, things can be different. So can I bring a sense of oneness? Can I bring a sense of collaboration in my spirit of approaching? So even like today, especially especially in academics, I can tell you, like we have so much of focus on that we have to bring in the Indian knowledge system. We have to say that no, students should know the history and all of those things. There's a lot of churning happening in the education domain also. But again, the possibility of error there is that they might focus so much on the past in terms of what was done. But it is not so much, yes, it's important to know the past. But especially in the Indian context, what is very important is to imbibe the spirit of the past. So if I'm saying that, okay, these were the discoveries, these were the things which were happening, but it's like, what was the spirit, what was the intent, what was the method which, say, our seers had followed, our rishis had followed? They had that deep sense of quest to know. And their quest to know was captured by their intensity of aspiration to discover. And their discovery was for growth, for progress at a collective, at a universal level. So if I'm also looking at, say, when Sri Aurobindo says past as a foundation, so can I imbibe the spirit of the past to really, really make myself as an instrument that what can I offer? Because it's like if all of us are just striving towards the best which we can do, even in one of the prayers, no, I don't remember exactly, but when somebody asked some disciple how to pray to the mother, or Sri Aurobindo how to pray to the mother, whatever I can do, the best I can do. So it's not the best, but what is my best in the situation? Because the best is the absolute. We all are striving towards it. But in this situation, for example, I'm given the task of, say, speak right now. I may not say the best thing, but in this present moment, can I offer the best in my capacity, at most my sincerity? That's all. So what can I do in this moment, and how will I be able to achieve it when I'm physically, emotionally, mentally, all my parts of the being are present here? I can be my best version in any situation when all my parts are there. It's not that, okay, I'm speaking, but I'm thinking something else, I'm feeling something else, but my presence in the moment, that is when the best offering comes. So what does it tell us? That how can we have that sense of connectedness for a harmonious collaboration? And it's the harmonious collaboration of whatever we have. Like whatever situation is given to us, whatever role we have given to us, how do I bring it all together and offer it to the best of my capacity in this moment? Because if we really understand time, it is moment, it comes together time. In that sense, we don't have a sense of time, no? Like when we sit for meditation, when we sit for something which is very, very interesting, the first thing which we do is we lose the sense of time. So when do we lose the sense of time? When we feel deeply connected. So imagine if we are really, really connected and always in that spirit of, say, if I'm connected to the mother or I'm connected to anything which comes naturally to you, then I'm always in constant connection with her. So I'm not leaving those gaps for anything negative to come in. So say if I'm speaking, the moment I stop, there's a gap. So in that gap, there's a possibility which come, oh, did I speak well? Did I do well? Or in that gap, I can call the mother. So I act. If there's a gap, I fill that gap by calling the presence, invoking the presence, and then I act. And slowly, in my action also, it becomes an offering. So if I'm really bringing in a sense of connection, that my action is an offering, when my action stops, then I'm remembering. So that is what remember and offer becomes. So especially in integral yoga, we keep talking about remember and offer. But what does it mean in action? That in action, I'm really offering myself. And when I'm not offering, like for example, if I'm not creating as such, I'm remembering you. And then I'm also remembering you while offering. So when there is only, say, me and the mother, there is no other space for anything to come in. And that's how I progress, and that's how the progress becomes a joyful progress. Then it is not so much about am I progressing or not. There's not so much about comparison. It is just a constant exploration towards the path. So these are the few things which are important to understand, that how can I really see the graph of human existence, or see the graph of my own journey, the ups and downs in my journey, as a movement on the way, because the base is really that sense of oneness. So multiplicity in our life experiences, all the joys and sorrows in our life experiences, makes sense when we know that the purpose of all of these things is to lead us to that sense of oneness. So all the joys and sorrows are, say, the turns and twists on the way to reach the absolute. So if we have the goal in mind, if we have the destination in mind, if our effort is on track, we are able to link everything. So alignment, linking, collaboration, these are certain keywords which, when we are really having that sense of patience, I'm emphasizing more and more today, because somehow I realize that when spirituality or a sense of openness is captured by our nature, we really have that sense of urgency. And this is one thing which is important to understand for all of us, that on this path of progressive unfolding, one thing which we really have to do at least all the time is make friends with time. So once we really make friends with time and we are sincere, I think sincerity and patience are a good combination to walk the path of unknown. And all of us, of course, have this experience, but I just felt like to kind of emphasize more and more on this and becoming more and more aware of the multiplicity and seeing that we all live on multiple levels. So bringing awareness to all the levels you live on and trying to like find a common thread between all the levels and not forcing yourself to choose one, not getting self-critical that, oh, I'm choosing this, not choosing that. So all of those things to become more and more aware of what is the narrative I hold about myself, is the path on which I'm walking, is helping me to refine the narrative, is it really helping me more and more to open myself? Am I becoming more receptive? Is my receptivity leading to purification? Am I enabling the path of purification? Am I coming in my own way? So really walking this path of adventure with that spirit that yes, I'm being held. And I will really, really reach that sense of oneness by taking everything with me and not choosing one over the other. And that is when we can, especially on the path of integral yoga, we can experience the joy of being in collective collaboration. I think that is the key which can be our offering. And for this, maybe I can just end with 2 quotes which I really wanted to share with you. And one specifically when Sri Aurobindo speaks about yoga, and yoga as a process, like we use this word a lot, but what he has really said, this quote really speaks a lot to me, so I thought I'll share. By yoga, we can rise out of falsehood into truth, out of weakness into force, out of grief into bliss, out of bondage into freedom, out of death into immortality, out of darkness into light, out of self-diminution into unity, out of Maya into God. And especially when he speaks about the aim, the sadhaka of the divine perfection is the Purna Yogin. So what we are really, really aspiring for is a divine perfection. And especially when you see this, it gives you a kind of process that our outer nature has some imperfections, but when we work on those imperfections, we can reach the perfect state. So it's the journey from the outside to the inside, which for us is yoga, and for which we need all these things which we talk about. So this is the process, and especially because we are at the last day of the year, I think it's a good way to finish with an aspiration. Let the waves of the past flow far from you, carrying away with them all attachments and all weakness. The luminous joy of the divine consciousness is waiting, ready to take their place. I think to end with the words of the mother. So thank you everyone, and thank you for being here. We can close with a silence. Sir, would you like to speak? No?